Morning, we are taking you inside a Dutchess County cafe unlike any other. Our News 12's Diane Caruso takes us there in this week's We're Open.
It's where cappuccinos meet cats, muffins meet meows, and it's right in Beacon.
I'm the co-owner of Beans Cat Cafe. It's me and my husband. We got married back in October, and then we opened the cafe November 14th. We wanted to be able to help shelter cats. We've been trying to figure out how to foster for a while, but we only have an apartment. And then back in March of 2020 of last year, I quit my job and I just decided that that's the only way I was gonna make this happen, is if I kind of cornered myself into it.
And it is the Cat's Pajamas. The half coffee shop, half lounge is connecting cats from the Hudson Valley Animal Rescue with their forever homes.
Since they've opened their doors, 70 cats have been adopted, and they're hoping to get to 300 by the end of their first year.
It's so exciting. We had this one cat when we first opened, a little black kitten like the one that we have. And when he got adopted, they told me that they've never adopted a cat before. So stuff like that, it's oh, okay, you wouldn't have adopted a cat, if it wasn't for something like this.
Admission to the Cat Lounge is $7 per person for a half hour, $12.50 for an hour, or you could rent the entire room for up to 6 people. That'll cost you $40 for 30 minutes or $70 for an hour. And there's a good chance you may leave with something sweet that happens to have 4 legs. In Beacon, Diane Caruso, News 12.
All right, Diane, thank you. Such cute little cats there. And Beans Cat Cafe has a Valentine's special running right now. So to find out what it is, or just to get some more information if any of those cute little kitties might be right for you, we have a link on our website, news12.com. And hey, speaking of Valentine's
culture.
Hi, News 12. I just won The Voice.
Community.
The first shot went into the arm of Port Washington nurse Sandra Lindsay.
Connections.
Seems like so much fun.
It was pretty hectic.
Discover News 12 New York.
Hey, look, we're happy, right?
A new way to see the best of News 12's local channels from across the tri-state area, all in one place. Now streaming 24/7 on your favorite devices. Discover News 12 New York today.
In today's Chef's Quick Tip, learn how to organize your kitchen to make baking a snap.
I'm Tina Redwell. Today's quick tip, joining us is pastry chef
Suzanne Byrne.
How do we turn this mess into
this nice, easy to use tray? Take things out of their original containers. So things like powdered sugar, cornstarch boxes, salt. Trying to measure out of salt is a awful one, right? So all these little things can go into nice, neat little containers. And I love leftover takeout containers for these guys. It's just a matter of now being able to spoon it off and level it off and get a really great measurement. The same thing for things like cornstarch or powdered sugar. They come in these boxes, and to try to get in there and measure, it's very, very awkward, right? That even goes for bigger ingredients like cake flour, right? Very hard or messy when you open it up every time. The flour kind of goes everywhere. So when you go to the store and you get things, take a couple minutes is all you need. Take it out of the box, put it into a container, label it. A couple of tips for labeling is tape. A classic Sharpie, right, is great. Or I'll even take part of the box and cut it off and then tape it on the front so you can always see how much you have. And it's really great. So you know when you're running low on something and you need to restock it so you can keep on baking. So these containers, this type of big container here, of course, your takeout containers are going to be food safe. You want to check it. There's usually a little label on there that says food safe.
And you put all your ingredients for baking on some type of large tray.
My go-to tray with all of my baking powder, baking soda, cocoa powder, powdered sugar, cornstarch are all here all together. Yeast, my most common used ingredients are together.
And this tip is online. Just search for News 12 Connecticut Quick Tips Kitchen Organization. With Suzanne, Tina Redwine, News 12 Connecticut.
All of the snow we've been seeing is perfect for this week's road trip.
Yeah, News 12 photojournalist Lori Golias is teaming up with naturalist Mark Fowler from the Grace Farms Foundation and the Connecticut Outdoor Recreation Alliance to hit the trails.
Really, the wintertime is a beautiful time to be outside. The contrast between the white snow and the depths of color that you get, it's a great time to be out.
We're in Simsbury, Connecticut.
I'm Mark Fowler, naturalist adventurer, and today we are going to have an incredible adventure off the beaten path.
We're out here to test out some fat bikes and get some riding in the winter snow.
This is something that anyone who has ridden a mountain bike before can do. You just have to get used to the big fat tire on the bike.
The key for the snow tires is that they're just extra wide.
So like the size of this front tire I have on here is 4.8 inches. You know, fat biking in the snow these days, it's really up and coming. It's becoming a mainstream sport that you wouldn't have any trouble buying anything.
There's a lot of great bike shops in the area. I also, with Inspired Adventurist, I help people get access to really great adventures and fitness opportunities.
It's an experience that, you know, the first couple times you do it, it'll stay with you. You'll keep coming back.
Anytime you're going out in the wintertime, it's always good to go out with a partner. But really, as long as you kind of stay within your limits, it's really safe. It's, you know, no different than riding during the rest of the year.
There's really nothing like exploring the world by bike.
What we try to tell people is that Connecticut is an adventure state. There is so much to explore right outside our front doors.
We're teaming up with CORA, the Connecticut Outdoor Recreation Alliance.
We want to promote people getting out there.
Fat biking, I would just say, is a way to get outside when the trails are super snowy.
I think we've always known that getting out and being active is great for our physical health.
It was amazing being out there on the mountain bike because it's totally silent.
Getting out and getting in fresh air, being able to be out in an open space is, you know, great for your mental health.
You've just got to try it. You know, once you ride a bike in the snow and say, oh my gosh, man, this is cool. It's fun.
Just get the right clothes, get the right shoes, take care of your fingers and your toes, and you're going to have a great time outside.
Get out there, beat the cabin fever, and just go on an adventure you'll never forget.
I could walk all day in that, but that looks exhausting. Well, if it's for you, for more information on how to hit the trails, go to news12.com. And be sure to join us tonight at 7 o'clock. We're going to have a brand new special road trip close to home. Again, that's tonight at 7 o'clock. Looks exhausting.
95 years ago, a man whose parents had been slaves set out to share with the world that the history and contributions of black people go far beyond what many may have thought. His mission led to the month-long celebration in February of Black History. News 12 Long Island's Tama Ponton spoke with a Stony Brook University professor about how and why it all began.
Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the son of former slaves, was a historian who earned a Ph.D. from Harvard University. He is known as the father of Black history and the creator of what is now known as Black History Month.
He was focused like a laser constantly on this struggle to elevate the status and elevate the respect for the African American experience in a country. There was very little of that to be found.
Stony Brook University professor Dr. Zebulon Maletsky teaches African American history and is also a member of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. Woodson co-founded the organization in 1915 with the goal of educating all of America about the valuable contributions of Black Americans in the foundation of this country, its history, and culture.
His theory was that if people knew more about those accomplishments, it would help to improve race relations, it would help to improve and change the way African Americans are seen in America.
In February of 1926, Woodson started what was then called Negro History Week.
He chose February because it was coincided with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass.
The week-long celebration of Black achievement was elevated in 1976 when President Gerald Ford issued the first message on the national observance of Black History Month. Since then, every administration has issued a proclamation about celebrating February as Black History Month, which is now officially called National African American History Month.
It's a long, steady march of progress and success, sometimes despite America. And so, as many times as we've made steps forward, we've made steps backward. And someone like Kamala Harris is a perfect embodiment of all of that.
Today, it's not just an American celebration. Black History Month is also celebrated in Canada and the United Kingdom. Progress that Dr. Miletsky says was part of Woodson's mission to educate people about the history, impact, and importance of African Americans that goes far beyond our origin story in this country.
I think he'd say, job well done, but, we've got to keep working tomorrow.
I'm Tama Ponton, News 12.
Each year, the organization Dr. Woodson founded chooses a theme to celebrate the month. The theme for 2021 is the Black family, representation, identity, and diversity.
The dreaded alarm clock. Love them or hate them, they do get us up in the morning. But not everyone uses an actual clock. Some rely on their smartphones. But there's thought that having a smartphone at your bedside can be distracting and actually affect your quality of sleep.
Whether it's a tweet or a text or something, an email from your boss, and suddenly you can't get to sleep because you're thinking, well, what does this mean for tomorrow?
That's where the Lofty might be able to help. This advanced alarm clock may not look like much, but it's all about tech-life balance. It's meant to have the functionality of a smartphone without the distracting screen or alerts. Aside from having multiple alarms that are designed to wake you up gently, it has several ways to help you relax. Things like soothing playlists, sound baths, and breathwork exercises, all at the touch of a button, or controllable through the Lofty app. There's also a night light, which can turn on to remind you to start thinking about heading to bed.
So the nightlight comes on and then a gentle sound starts to play just as a cue to remind us that it's time to think about winding down.
Now, if you notice on the back of the Lofty here, there's no USB charging port. So basically, there's no temptation to charge your smartphone here.
If you want it across the room, cool. And then if you want to put it outside of the bedroom, we think you might get even better sleep.
So basically, no cheating.
Yes, that's right.
I'm Andrew Enger, and that's your download.
Andrew Enger, always with the coolest tech products. Check us out over on news12.com under numbers and links. There you can learn a lot more about the technology that could help your life. We'll be right back.
Today, we are going to see seals. Fingers crossed on this road trip close to home. It's the season for seal walks at Cupsock Beach in West Hampton. We are on the bayside in search of seals who migrate to our south shore during these colder months, and it is cold out here, so bundle up. The Coastal Research and Education Society of Long Island offers guided walks with a marine mammal expert that will take you to the best viewing vantage point.
The tours are a way for us to educate people about the seals, but it's mostly to get people to see them and make this connection.
Dr. Artie Kopelman took us to today's seal spotting site. Look, they're right there. There are so many of them. I can't believe it. Right there on the rocks and then in the water.
So there are about 20 here right now. We usually see them up on that sandbar, up to 200 on occasion.
The guided walks are a little over a mile round trip and take a little over an hour. If you want to come on your own, be sure to bring your binoculars. The best time to see seals is around low tide from now through early May.
When you're here looking at the seals, you've got to be low and quiet, and if they react to you, it's time for you to stop and then leave.
It is so beautiful here, and they are just incredible to watch. On this road trip close to home, Elisa DiStefano, News 12 Long Island.
That is so cool to see. Our Road Trip Close to Home show has great ideas for fun family destinations in the winter. You can watch the full show tonight and every Thursday night at 7 p.m. And then if you miss it, you can watch it again on Saturday morning at 11:30. We'll be right back.
Take a tour to pay tribute to the 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, on this road trip close to home to Oyster Bay. Visit Teddy Roosevelt's retreat, Sagamore Hill. Sagamore Hill became an important landmark and known as the Summer White House during the 7 summers he spent here as president. It's now a National Historic Site and park. Even though all of the buildings are closed right now, it's still incredible to be here at this house with so much history. You can walk on Teddy Roosevelt's porch, you can even take a seat, and you could stand in the spot where he built the podium to deliver so many famous speeches. And notice there's no rail here. That's because he didn't want any barrier between him and his audience. You can also explore the 95 acres of serene landscape. Walk the pet-friendly trails that Teddy Roosevelt walked with his dogs. And just down the road from Sagamore Hill, you can visit Teddy Roosevelt's final resting place at Young's Memorial Cemetery. Once you climb up the hill, make your way up the symbolic 26 steps. That leads you to his gravesite. And the cool thing about coming up here in the winter is you get a clear view of beautiful Oyster Bay, where Roosevelt loved to go rowing. And the Theodore Roosevelt Sanctuary, a fitting tribute to America's conservationist president. Roosevelt's legacy certainly lives on. On this road trip close to home to Oyster Bay, Elisa DiStefano, News 12 Long Island.
Always a great place. Our road trip close to home show has great ideas for fun family destinations. You can watch the full show tonight and every Thursday night. It starts at 7 o'clock. If you miss it, you can catch it again on Saturday mornings at 11:30. We'll be right back.
Therapy service in Menchaca is helping kids and adults with speech, occupational, and physical therapy. And since the pandemic, they pivoted their business.
Well, you are not alone. That is the message from those who have lost a spouse to COVID. 2 women from New Jersey now forming a support group on Facebook, allowing those in similar situations to find each other. News 12 New Jersey's Chris Keating has that story tonight in what is becoming an all too familiar occurrence. Chris?
Kurt, the women who you're about to meet in this piece suffered a sudden loss. To use their words, they're now helping each other with their layers of grief. So they started a support group, which is now 300 strong, and all involved have one thing in common. They've all lost a spouse to COVID-19. At 37 years old, Pamela Addison and 33-year-old Christina Scorpo find themselves widowed, both with 2 young children to raise. Both had husbands who are also young and attacked very quickly by the coronavirus.
He was placed on a ventilator April 7th. Well, I just really thought he was going to beat this.
Martin Addison, a healthcare worker at St. Joseph's University Medical Center, passed on April 29th. Officer Frank Scorpo of the Patterson Police Department also was taken quickly.
They put him on the ventilator April 2nd, and he passed April 12th. Early in the morning.
COVID deaths bring that unique and unforgiving experience for family members of not being able to be there in the hospital as a loved one takes his or her last breath.
The fact that a lot of us didn't get to say goodbye because we couldn't physically be with them. The last time I saw my husband was April 3rd when he was loaded into the ambulance.
Soon after their loss, these 2 women found each other.
I got this card in the mail from Christina, and she just said I wasn't alone.
Together, they form the support group Young Widows and Widowers of COVID-19. They support each other in many ways, but especially when it comes to children.
We're still talking about him constantly, and we're still bringing him up, and it's like he never left.
Pamela spoke of her daughter.
My daughter, pretty early on, I saw that she was really missing her dad, and even though she was 2, I knew she needed therapy. And that's been really helpful for her.
These 2 women have formed a bond that's helping. To those who are struggling with loss, both women say, "You're not alone. Find our group." Kurt, these 2 women only live 30 minutes apart, but out of caution, they have yet to meet in person. They say they will do so in spring when the world is a little bit safer. Chris Keating, News 12 New Jersey.
Chris, thank you. Touching story tonight. Kind gestures come in all sizes. They can impact many, they can impact just one. It is kindness all the same. And it may have been a small gesture today in Cranford, but it was the sweetest thing we saw today. An officer getting a sandwich for lunch when a 4-year-old girl named Menchaca saw the officer and decided to make a drawing for her right there in the restaurant. She drew a happy face handprint. She signed it, handed it over. It made the officer's day. It made ours too. Thank you, Menchaca, for making Jersey proud. Little things like that, Dave. put a smile on your face.
I was just going to say that. It's the little things that can really change somebody's day in just a second. That's awesome. Francesca, you're doing New Jersey, you're doing C-Town proud.
Some students in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, taking a virtual trip around the world with the man who has literally flown the globe. In fact, Captain Barrington Irving is the first black man to fly solo across the earth. So today, he was taking some time to talk with kindergartners at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Academy as part of his Flying Classroom program. The Flying Classroom encourages kids to get into STEM research through design workshops inspired by Irving's travels. The captain says our educators play a huge part in inspiring his lessons.
A lot of our content is driven by teachers. Teachers say, hey, we want you to explore this. We want you to explore that. And we figure out a creative way to bring these subjects to life.
So cool. And not only was Barrington the first black man to fly around the world himself, he was also the youngest to do so when he did it at age 23 back in 2007. And in case you're wondering, he accomplished that feat in 97 days. And we are about to hear two love stories, two couples, both business owners on Arthur Avenue and have been married for 40 years. News 12's Arnold Davik getting us into the Valentine's Day spirit tonight with some of their tips on how they keep the love alive all this time.
Love is in the air around Arthur Avenue, and we're told Italian food is a good pairing for a long-lasting love. For the owners of Italian restaurant Tradenoy, Lori Coletta, and her husband and chef, Marco Coletta, their love wasn't instantaneous, but that didn't stop the chef.
But when he came to my house and he was bringing me steak instead of flowers because he knew I love steak, he just wheedled his way in. All of a sudden, one day, I didn't know what life would be without him.
And 41 years later, they're still going strong and serving authentic traditional dishes at their restaurant for nearly 2 decades. They tell me what's worked all these years.
Well, first of all, he stays in the kitchen and I stay in the dining room. We're not joined at the hip, we're just joined at the heart, right?
Now, a block away on Arthur Avenue is Tino's Deli. The owners, Rosa and Giancarlo Pasciullo, were pen pals before they met in person. But when they finally did meet in 1973, things moved quickly.
We got married after 1 month, and we come in this country, and we together 48 years.
They've worked together all that time, the last 15 years selling specialty Italian ingredients and cooked dishes at the deli. Their tip on staying together as long as they have?
Really, we love each other. We fight. It's not like, it's very hard to, live together and work together. But at the end of the night, we have a glass of wine and a good dinner, and that's it.
Now for Valentine's Day, the two eateries are encouraging lovebirds to make the night romantic with some of their Italian cuisine. In their experience, it works. Arnold Davik, News 12.
Of all the candidates running for mayor of New York City, only one is trying to make the jump directly from city council. This is Carlos Menchaca, the Brooklyn council member who served since 2014. He'll be the first Latino mayor and first openly gay mayor in the city's history. Believing his passion, his experience, make him the best choice to lead.
What I've seen has called me to action. I'm someone who grew up in public housing, single mother, and really understand what families are going through right now. We need someone that understands government. I have 7 years as a council member. I have the experience, but I also have the passion and the energy to confront this with all of you, and will bring your ideas into spaces that have never heard your ideas. What I want to do is bring resiliency to the small businesses so that if we are ever in a situation like this, we can return to outdoor dining in faster ways, to bring the arts to our streets so that people can congregate safely outside social distance. We need to build more schools. Our schools are overcrowded. And in those new schools, we need to ensure that they have everything that they need that we saw lacking, like air circulation, Wi-Fi access. What we are seeing is a massive increase in funding for NYPD over the last 20 years. It hasn't worked. We still have crime. How do we have more crime with an incredibly bloated NYPD budget? Imagine if people have a universal basic income so they can pay for their rent and not be worried about the next job so that they can take care of their families in a pandemic. Imagine if people had what they need at home to ensure that their kids had all the educational materials that they need. That is what I'm talking about. That is the new vision for New York that I will bring as mayor.
And you can check out all the profiles of the candidates running for New York City Mayor as they air, including the full interviews. It's on our website, news12.com. We also have all the information you need posted there to register to vote. Important dates to know: May 28th, the last day to register in person or have your mail-in application postmarked by. If you need to change that address, that needs to be done by June 2nd. Primary election day is June 22nd.
Generation Z tends to be thought of as a progressive and politically active generation.
Yeah, but despite its reputation for inclusivity, racism and bullying still exist.
And News 12's Nadia Galindo introduces us to a 13-year-old who is doing her part to encourage students to stick up for others.
8th grade isn't easy for anyone.
I was racially harassed.
But it got that much tougher for Sydney McKnight the day a kid she knew from summer camp harassed her on social media because of her support for the Black Lives Matter movement, calling her racial slurs.
It was a hard time.
But the 13-year-old did not face the attacks alone.
I had one friend that stood up for me and was just an ally, and, you know, he didn't have to stick up for me, but he did.
Her friend also notified trusted adults at the Chapel School in Bronxville. The whole experience inspiring Sydney to create a way to recognize students at her school like him, who don't just stand by when friends face adversity.
It is time to stand up and stand up for good and make a change.
She created an Upstander and Ally Scholarship, $500 a year for 3 years to be given to an incoming 6th grader who writes an essay that best emphasizes the importance of standing up for classmates.
Some things you just have to let go and go on, but other things you really have to stand up for what you believe in, and she's really a person who stands up for what she believes in.
The school's principal telling us it's inspiring that a young person like Sydney understands and recognizes the importance of being an upstander and ally for others. The 8th graders' actions proving even kids can be the change makers in their community. So when will someone be chosen to receive this scholarship? I'm told that will happen this June at the middle school's graduation. In Bronxville, Nadia Galindo, News 12.